Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer, the show about 3D printing and what we're doing inside of the industry. Today, we're going to talk about desktop metal layoffs. MIT made a new type of 3D printer, some of our software releases, and apparently talking about founders and the companies they start. But let's go ahead and start with the news. First of all, Desktop Metal. Desktop Metal lays off 20% of staff. They are doing this as a way of trying to get towards profitability, and it was partially induced, according to Rick Fulop, due to a response to the softer demand environment of the 3D printing industry currently. The layoffs are expected to let Desktop Metal save about $50 million. Currently, Desktop Metal is trading at a $207 million valuation, taking quite a hit since their peak. Back in the good old days, they were worth about 1.5. I think they might have even hit 2 at one point. The staff are being notified on January 24th, so in the past, from when you guys are hearing this. This makes sense. This, quite frankly, has been a long time coming. And yes, sure, it's in response to the environment of the 3D printing industry right now. But this is sort of, there's a number of different factors with Desktop Metal. Number one, Desktop Metal has been trying to, since they've made all these acquisitions, they've had a huge amount of redundancy inside of the organization. So you don't need two sets of accountants for one company, even though you merge two organizations together. So there's that. The other thing is that, yes, this last year, 3D printing has taken a hit, but Desktop Metal has taken a fairly reasonable part of that hit because they have been messing around with the mergers with 3D Systems and Nano Dimension and everybody else in the drama. And even Stratasys, did they get involved with Stratasys, I think? Yes. I think so. Desktop Metal's been trying to merge or be acquired or something with a few other folks in order to hit a point of stability and get access to cash, because they don't have a lot right now compared to what their burn rate was. They have the prospects to get... By the way, not financial advice. The conversations within this podcast are for entertainment purposes only. Hosts of the podcast may have investments in any of the companies that we discuss, but not investment advice. That being said, Desktop Metal has a lot of assets that make them valuable, both as a point of acquisition and as monetizable stuff that they have. But they're most certainly hurting. Yeah, $207 million. I mean, they've taken a massive slap upside the face with valuation. A lot of other companies have done this too. There's almost been a 10x reduction in the valuation of 3D printing public companies in the last year. And if you say that like applies across the industry or something like that, you can kind of extrapolate that to like the acquisitions like Nexa and the Essentium acquisition that happened or closed last week. We guessed what it would be. We know Essentium was going for public at $1 billion. If they're taking the same 10x reduction that everybody else is effectively, then maybe that Nexa deal was like 100 million, and probably like most of that was stock. Shapeways, old soul in the 3D printing industry, been around since like 2010, 2012. Shapeways is trading at a $15 million valuation right now. Desktop Metal and Shapeways both got dinged for turning into penny stocks. So they had a valuation and their stock dropped below $1, which means the New York Stock Exchange says you got to do a reverse stock split in order to increase the value of your stock. Otherwise, you're not in compliance with the exchange rules. So Shapeways got whacked with that last fall. Desktop Metal got whacked with that last November. It's probably going to happen to a couple other fellas. Actually, there's not that many other fellas who are publicly traded, to be fair, in the 3D printing world. But anyway, it's been a beating this last year. All that being said, and there's a lot of people have done, the projections for 2024 and what's going to happen with the 3D printing industry, we're all taking a licking. No, we're not. People need parts today just as much as they need parts last year and the year before. They need parts more today. The economy is still bigger today than it was 3 years ago when all these companies went public. But they're not making parts, they're selling machinery. And machinery that has not found the applications that people want. So yes, they're taking a hit because they're not selling shovels that find gold, and they haven't, and nobody's made the gold or found any gold to use these shovels for. So that's kind of where 3D printing is at. It came out of a hype cycle during COVID, which was fine, but we didn't have that big of a hype cycle during COVID. I mean, he has, oh, we're going to save everybody with face shields. That lasted like 2 months. Calm down. But the whacking that has been coming around from here is making 3D printing turn from a technology industry to a manufacturing industry. 3D printing is still very much a technology industry and still could be. That's very much how we look at it here at Slant 3D. That's why we work so hard on software and that kind of stuff. But the industry as a whole is becoming increasingly viewed by the public as a manufacturing industry, because it is. They're machines that make stuff. But Tesla's a part of the manufacturing industry too. So, and they're doing fine. Okay. Let's see here. MIT develops new 3D printing system called liquid metal printing, LMP. The way this process works is that they're able to print large metal objects in a matter of minutes using molten aluminum. How this works is for a number of years there have been gel style printers where you have a block of gel and then you insert a needle, and this needle squirts out a gel or an epoxy or something along that line, and it's suspended in that jello. And then as it moves around, it can grow apart and that kind of stuff. This is effectively the same process, but they are using molten aluminum and a vat of glass beads. They're using glass beads, I presume, because glass beads are a lot lighter than like sand, and can also be melted away a little bit more easily and cleanly. But they're basically depositing aluminum in this vat of sand, and it hardens right there, and the sand basically holds it in place because it's not compressible. And then you can pull out the finished part. Looks rough and nasty, but then the thought is that you put it into a machining process to finish out the form. And you can still get some of the benefits of 3D printing and rapid prototyping in that regard without having to carve out of a whole steel or aluminum block that's like 3 feet wide in order to get the 4 legs of a chair. So it's a cool idea, but it's not that revolutionary. It's actually pretty iterative, which is fine, and that's great that they're doing something useful in that context. No, it's a cool piece of tech and great demonstrator. And that sort of methodology, I think, is still underutilized. I think that sort of process could almost be applied to even like FDM in some sort of way. The problem is that you have the contamination of the medium, the vat, that it's being suspended in. So you can only make kind of stringy sort of objects. Like you have a certain width, but you're not going to build up layers. You're just going to feed through here, and it's kind of a 6-axis sort of motion problem. You can't build on stuff because you can't fill up the volume. You can't make a solid cube with this because it's going to be filled up with sand. But it still has its place and will very likely be useful. And right now, the way they're doing it, it could easily be made more refined in a lot of different ways. It's a research project, so it's going to be rough, but it's really cool. Okay, that's it for the news. All right, filament update. Yes, we need to do the filament update. Guys, I apologize. We released the 4 kilogram spools last week, and production was starting up on those, and almost as soon as we got started, the main extruder dedicated to Tangled broke. It has, in extrusion machines, you have these heater bands that are basically like the ceramic heater in your 3D printer, just a lot bigger. And these heater bands heat up the extruder. The one at the die, at the very tip of the extruder, burned out on us, same way as they can in a 3D printer. So we are waiting for that part to arrive. This extruder, I'm not going to say is uncommon, but it's not that common. And extrusion equipment in general is not that common. So we are waiting for the part for that. We rushed out a few. We tried to hustle one part through that came earlier this week. it didn't fit right and didn't power up right the way we wanted. So we gave it a shot as an experiment to try to expedite stuff. We knew it was kind of a Hail Mary, but we wanted to get it in. We are waiting for other pieces, and we are in contact with a couple of alternative manufacturers to get more spare parts for these so that we just have a stack of 10 of them around for the next 10 years if necessary. I'm fine with that. But it has delayed delivery of 4kg spools. All subscriptions will still be going out on time. All of those are set and packed. That's fine. But so they'll be on the monthly cadence of 30 days from whenever you start your subscription. But where was I going with this? 4kg spools have been delayed because we need that bulk of filament. We need that extruder making bulk filament. If you need your filament sooner, and this is causing a problem, reach out to us for a refund. Because right now it looks like another week before those orders ship, and it could get worse. We're fixing that all. So we do not want you are not our bank. So if you want your filament refunded there until we're operational and smooth again on that, we absolutely will do that. So just reach out and let us know. But those of you who don't, thank you, and we appreciate your patience. We are getting it out, and we are getting this problem fixed, and we'll move on to the next one as it comes along. It's fairly typical. When you get all revved up and ready to go and then something breaks that you weren't looking for or wouldn't really expect because it's an immobile part. But there it went. We hope it's not more severe. It shouldn't be more severe than that. It's changing out the color. We did all the checks and everything else. It's isolated to there, but there could have been some other cause that we just don't know about. But yeah, there's that. So yes, we'll keep you updated on that, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that the shipments are going to be delayed on that from what we expected, and that's on us, and we apologize for that, guys. We're going to make sure, and as part of this too, we're going to go through and look at any part that is remotely, it's not a consumable, but we're going to look at any part that is remotely kind of consumable, that is an easy kind of swap out part that's a replaceable thing, and make sure that we get those all replaced. We, of course, have that for like the screws and that kind of thing. And an extruder is a big screw in a big old heavy metal tube with a big old motor at the end. There's not that much that can go wrong with it. It has the relays. This extruder has relays in it that will eventually burn out at some point, but those are common and easy to get a hold of. So that's fixable. But overall, the machines themselves are simple, very simple. Okay, but yeah, update on that. Software. I'm not going to announce anything official right now, but there are going to be a number of software releases very soon. A couple of them, a few of them, ones we've been storing up. We're back on track with that, and we're bringing some more developers onto our team so that we have some more redundancy and more guys to focus on particular product groups. So the rate of iteration on that should be accelerating as well. So we should be back up and live with that. Again, we're coming out of a stupor of the Christmas season and just taking that beating and getting our taxes filed and that kind of thing. We're getting back in the groove, and we will start nailing stuff again. This year is going to be a fun year. We have a separate video talking about 2024 goals. Like and subscribe to get notified of when that video comes out. Okay. Founders and starting a company. Okay. So this came up. I did a LinkedIn post a week or two ago that got a decent amount of play, so it was brought up on the agenda today. And the LinkedIn post was to the effect of, when you're starting a company, if you are a solo founder or solo team, you have the founders and you have the goal. Both of those have to be very highly defined and understood in order to know how to build the in-between. We want to build a robot. I don't know anything about robotics. What do we know about this? The two components of this is that founders have to be exceptionally introspective, because when you are just starting a company, the only outside input or guidance you have is none. You have yourself, maybe some mentors if you're lucky who can help center you. But if you are starting a company, you have to know yourself completely because, and this means know your strengths, know your blind spots, know your gaps, know everything about yourself, know whether you need to sleep 8 hours or if you can do this job or the other job and that kind of stuff. And you cannot lie to yourself about this, which is what many people do. If you can't do a certain thing, you need to start building the in-between. The other thing is you have to have a very clearly defined goal. And this is universal for any goals at all. Whether you're working at the gym, wanting to raise money or do whatever else, or get to the next job or whatever else it was, you have to define that goal. What is the hole I have to fit through so that I can change my shape to fit through it? That is it. You have to be very concise about the goal. So we'll use us as an example here. I'm going to be selfish about this. Slant 3D, our fundamental goal is to build a warehouse where the shelves make the product. That sounds broad, but it is an exceptionally concise goal because it creates a North Star through which every one of our decisions is defined. When we have projects cross my desk, I use the phrase I'm supposed to say no a bunch, even though I say yes to a lot of things. But the decision of whether to do a particular project is viewed through that lens of does it get us closer towards that warehouse? Not closer to making more parts faster or anything else. Does it get us closer to making a warehouse where the shelves can make the product? So if we look at a project like Tangled Filament. Tangled Filament is askew from our core competencies and that kind of stuff. It is sort of a distraction. However, the necessity for large, scalable, low-cost 3D printing raw materials is very important for that warehouse where the shelves make the product. Otherwise, within the next 2 years, we're going to absorb all of the filament production that is available to us. And so we have to make our own filament, which we started doing, but also reselling it to you guys helps grow the industry and give access to other print farms to further grow the industry. It also ensures that since we're making filament and making it for you guys, we're learning all these lessons of scaling up a little bit sooner than we otherwise would have. Because if we're building a warehouse where the shelves make the product that is the size of Amazon and does 2 million items a day, then we have to have that much material back down through here. So working on Tangled and using Tangled as a way to help scale up our filament production before we actually need it is a good decision. It is a 5-year decision, 3 to 5 year decision, because it's just necessary. And it has all the side ancillary benefits of creating lower cost supplies for other print farms to help them scale up and so on and so forth, so that the industry can convince more people to use 3D printing for production of final products. So that's our end goal. Now, the self-evaluation of me, we're not going to go full therapy on this because we ain't that close. But for instance, I'm an engineer. I am a mechanical engineer focused in robotics. So that basically makes me fairly broadly qualified at a decent number of things. I'm fairly decent at software, pretty good at mechanics, that kind of thing. But within the operation of a company, of getting to that goal, I have to be super honest with myself about what am I able to do in getting to that goal and where do I need to hire or where do we need to build the team in order to get to that goal, or what systems do we have to put in place, that kind of a thing, so that we are filling the gaps of the original founder and taking the guidance of the founder, because it's their job to be kind of the soul keeper of an organization. I mean, they start it, they point it in a direction, they have to be the driver and all the rest of it. And how do you take that core seed and get it to that main core North Star? So you fill the gaps. If you are an engineer and you have no sales expertise around, you need to find a way to get sales expertise. You either have to learn it or you have to bring it on. It's team building. But this is what many people disregard. They say, I can do it myself. And that's fair when you're in the first day or two. Sort of not even then, though. This is the point of founding teams. You create a group of people who have complementary skills so that you can get to that goal. And that group of people and those skills that you need are defined by that goal and the gaps in your own capabilities. This is all obvious when stated. Fill in your holes, but very few people consider it when starting a company. They say, I got a cool product. Everybody's going to buy this and sell this. And that is not the case. And it's not relevant. Or they'll say, I'll work hard and I'm determined and so on and so forth. And that's neither the case either. You have to produce, in creating a company, you are creating a mechanism that has to achieve some core thing. And you have these resources. So you as the founder have your expertise and resources, and you're trying to get to that end goal. You have to then plan backwards from that end goal to what you actually need, what parts you fill in, and then where else you have to get other stuff. Again, obvious statement, but many people ignore it. You have the founder and their skills and the goal of the company. And the challenge of the founder or the CEO, whoever the main decision maker is, not always the same person, is to make the decisions and find out, be truthful enough with yourself to know what other structure to build around yourself. So there was that. Just a small kind of within the operational context of companies. If you're starting a new business, you just have to do a very stark self-evaluation. And many people, just humans in general, we love to lie to ourselves about how good we are at stuff and how we'll figure it out tomorrow or whatever else it was. And you can't. This is one of the great exercises of like business plan, where you do like the page where you describe the team and their capabilities. If you're describing yourself and you're lying in order to make it sound better in the business plan, you have a problem. A good team leaps off the page and very clearly has everybody in just a powerful spot, to where it's like, oh yes, this group of people obviously checks all the boxes for getting to that goal of what they want to do. The same way, if I said I want to dig a hole, I have this machine with 20 horsepower and 10 gallons of fuel in the background that is going to dig a big old hole because it has the engineering capability to do so. You have to approach the creation of a company in a similar sort of way. You don't have to. There's many people who get lucky or are just charismatic and all the rest of it. But if you want to increase probability of success, this is the thing to do. And that self-evaluation is super painful. But it is really good, because if you're able to do it, you will be in a very healthy position for the rest of the company when real pain starts. Because if you cannot evaluate yourself before you start the company, you will have all types of problems later on. And when starting an organization, and this is also something that many people don't understand, there is zero incentive or reason to lie to yourself when operating a company. Because if you do, you will kill the company. You have to be super honest and analytics focused. Otherwise, you live in la la land. And the world is falling around you, but you're saying I'm awesome and the company is awesome, but it doesn't manifest anything. So lying to yourself about what your competencies are, what your team's competencies are, what the position of the company is useless, except unless your core job is to be a cheerleader. And if you are the cheerleader, fine, you can go ahead and do that, but you better have an engineer and a salesman around who can actually make the bills be paid. So that. There were a number of requests in the comments. Part of this, I think, is because a number of comments had requested more kind of businessy focused stuff about what we were doing. So we're going to try to introduce some of those things. We talked about NDAs and patents a few weeks ago. People wanted to hear more about that kind of stuff. I will try to add kind of a section in here of more nitty gritty operational type of stuff. Like this is the explanations of sales tax and that kind of thing. To the degree that I am comfortable, because I do not want to steer anybody wrong on that kind of thing. And so much of that stuff is contextual. But there are certain components of the industry and certain components of operations that I wish I had known when we started the organization. So I will try to share those more so that hopefully this YouTube channel can have some sort of resource for the next guy who comes along and wants to do something. Though at the same time, it's buried in the vastness of the internet. So I'm not planning to write a book anytime soon again, but I don't know how to. There's obvious answers to there's obvious questions that do not always have clear and concise answers. Sometimes they do. There's certain things about business that take a while to sink in for some people. For like example, the most important thing in an organization is the people. Engineers don't think that way. They're like, the most important thing in the organization is the patents and the ideas. No, it's not. It's the engineers and the people who create that stuff, and the team who supports it. Otherwise, you don't have it. A company is a group of people working on a thing. That's all it is. And that's obviously true, but it doesn't always sink in for people how important the team and the people are inside of an organization. But those types of things, just to harp on them, that's the stuff. Yeah, so this will be a fairly short one, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Comment down below other topics that you want us to cover. If you run into any cool news throughout the week, please comment on one of our videos so that we can catch it and grab it, so that we can build these out a little bit more. But yes, here coming to the end of January, I think we're finally coming out of the stupor, so a lot of cool stuff will be coming out very soon. Have a great day, everybody.